You're listening to Cobb, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan.
Have you heard of oxymorons?
Of course I have.
And that's what your topic for today reminds me of. And this is what we famously call CLMs, career limiting moves, right? For a salesman to be silent.
Yeah, if you read it that way, if you think about it the other way, that if something is meant to be silent and if it turns into a salesman then.
But when a salesman never silent?
But silent can be salesman, right?
Fair enough. So that's a good way to introduce our topic for today. And I'm interviewing you today on the topic of silent salesman. Why don't you just start by telling us what it means?
Okay. I love the term silent salesman because, as you said, it combines two things which are normally not used in the same sentence. In one of the previous podcasts, we spoke about marketing and sales really being joined at the hip, and marketing bearing the responsibility of carrying sales along and creating conviction in them. So it's an extension of the same philosophy where I believe that marketing can actually create a lot of silent salesmen for sales team, so that the job of selling as well as reselling becomes easier. Those are the elements I call as silent salesman.
So are you talking about marketing create pull at the point of sale, or are they different to what you're talking about as silent salesman? How does it work?
So purpose of marketing, as Kotler put it, is to make sales redundant. Yeah, so therefore obviously anything that marketing does would try to create pull such that you don't need significant push. So I'm talking about elements which are not usually glorified as marketing elements, but I believe can be a great proponent or multiplier of your marketing or your proposition, and will continue to make your proposition come alive for anybody who interacts with them.
Right. You're talking about the touch points and merchandising and
Yeah, many of those.
right.
Yeah, so for example, for some of the marketeers who might be listening to this podcast, they might think of at least two of them which are fairly commonplace, and in one or the other marketing forum somebody would have mentioned it in the same vein. I'm talking about point of sale material, sometimes called as POSM, and packaging. Yeah, so point of sale material is something that you display or put when the shopper is going, where the shopper is going to buy something. Now, since a lot of purchase is now moved online, it also includes banners, etc., at your checkout point or the place where you are exploring the catalogs. Yeah, so all of that is where you try to create some imagery. In the good olden days, people used to put A4, A3 posters, big banners, torrents, flanges, dealer boards, etc., etc. So those were things that people used to invest significantly into. They still do, but probably with a lot more longevity in their mind, and hence the investment into paper point of sale material I've seen has gone down over a period of time. Yeah. The second one which I am referring to, and which again is a commonplace one, is your packaging. Yeah, gone are the days where everything used to be packed in those monochromatic brown or gray boxes. People now invest a lot of thought into designing the shape, form, as well as graphics for their packaging. Yeah, and packaging almost becomes an extension of your brand or its personality. Yeah, one of the examples, slightly quirky ones, is everything that Indigo packs. Yeah, I quite like their packaging, honestly. I'm sure you do too. Yeah, they write some very quirky lines, some very smart ones there, and the packaging instantly pulls you to kind of read it. Yeah, and hence you get engaged with the product even before you have thought about what is inside. I spoke about Kinder Joy in the same vein. Yeah, Kinder Joy also designed their packaging, and it starts engaging with the kids even before they have reached the inside of it. So these are the two things which are obviously your silent salesman. I will add two more things to it, which one of it is obvious and the second one possibly is not so obvious. The first one is your product. Yeah. So the fact is that regardless of how much marketing you do, how much drama you build up, finally what has to deliver your proposition is your product. Yeah.
Delivery of the promise.
Delivery of the promise. And that's the moment of truth where the customer needs to feel satisfied, needs to feel delighted. Now, a lot of the products also have repeat usage. Yeah, something like your white goods or anything that you possibly use day in, day out. And hence you get umpteen responsibility, umpteen, occasions to responsibly respond to customer expectations. Yeah, and hence it becomes critical that your product lives up to the promise every single time. Yeah, and the more it lives up to the promise, the more it strengthens the proposition.
Right. So when there are repeated moments of truth, it ends up having to fulfill a certain level of consistency than just one singular moment of delight.
Correct. And that is where brands start differentiating themselves from commodities. Even in commodity categories like atta, masala, etc., you will see that some brands or some manufacturers have been able to brand themselves versus others. And as we earlier said, branding is nothing but a set of promises that are made to your customer. So therefore, if branding encompasses a set of all the promises that you've made, consistent branding means that consistent delivery on those promises time after time. And that is how customer starts rewarding a brand for the delivery.
And how would this work for a service business, for a service brand?
Similar, I would say. So you and I possibly fly from time to time to different cities. We have a perception that has gotten created in our heads about every airline after having flown in it for a couple of times at least, right? So Indigo somehow talks about on time performance, and honestly in my experience by and large it has always been on time. So therefore that's the perception that I carry. Now regardless of the fact that somebody shows me data that Air India is as punctual as Indigo, I would still continue to believe that Indigo is on time because that is what they have delivered for me. Yeah, and hence it is a very personal experience. But a brand, if it is able to deliver it consistently to so many people, that is how the brand perception gets created. Yeah, some of it is incidental, but I really, and I think all the marketers should respect brands who've been able to create that perception by first deciding that this is what we will deliver on, and then they deliberately delivered on it.
Fair enough. So before you go on to the next one, Sudeep, I know that's the final one, but I have a couple of questions on the first couple of points.
Yeah.
So you said you've seen less and less paper POSM used in general trade today. What has it been replaced with? So if a brand is interacting with the consumer, how are they doing it in today's times in general trade?
Yeah. Okay. So I've seen movements in two directions. First is towards every brand trying to own some kind of permanent space within the shops.
Okay, windows.
Sometimes windows, shelves. Yeah. Sometimes I've also seen that people have started now, putting frames inside the shop. Now they will go and put a poster inside the frame. The next time they have a new poster, they will open the frame, replace the poster, and close the frame again. Yeah. The second movement that I've seen is people have now started getting creative with their branding. Yeah. So they've started investing into multiple things which look out of the ordinary, and then they stand out in the shop. One of the very interesting examples, and I still remember it, this is in 2017. I was in Amritsar, working in building material stores, and ACC, the cement brand, was doing a campaign for ACC Gold, their premium cement. And what they had done was they had chosen some of the prominent dealers in Amritsar, taken their photograph, and they had created a standee out of it. They had a visit from some MD or somebody. For that visit, they created a standee out of it. So the standee had the pack of premium cement in the bottom, and then the dealer standing with his arms closed on top of it and saying, is cement ki guarantee meri, or I guarantee the performance of this cement. So they were almost using the dealer as an endorser for their brand.
Right, which is exactly what you want from the retail touch point.
Correct. So now, they made it come so alive. And a great insight there, honestly, is that in an era of impermanence or temporariness of POSM, the dealer would possibly not want to throw something which has his own photograph on it. So he would preserve it, he would clean it every day, he would keep it with pride, etc., etc. If a point of sale material is able to crack it, then what's better than that?
Yeah, they probably paid for a week of retail space, but they should have at least got a couple of months worth of it out of that kind of a deployment.
100%. So there is the innovative side of it, there is a permanent side of it, and I see more and more brands trying to do that. A lot of them have now, and this was prevalent when we were in our field sales days also. Aerial visibility used to be something that everybody wanted to get to, and so therefore putting their luddies and strips, etc., over the retailers and all of that. In different retail environments, you will find people trying to get to better ways of ensuring visibility.
Right. So the idea is to continuously innovate and to prolong the use of any POSM you create for it to work as the silent salesman for longer. Great. The next point you mentioned was packaging. Now, packaging in the digital sense, in the D2C brands, I believe has got very different role to play in the digital native brands and the D2C brands versus off-the-shelf brands. How would that work as the silent salesman when it has to go across omni-channel?
So I believe, say, you would have to think about your primary packaging and your secondary packaging possibly intelligently. Yeah. Now, the first thing that interacts with you when you receive a brand via Amazon or any of the D2C, rather than D2C, I would say online channels, is the box that it comes in. Now, Amazon has designed their box in a certain manner. If you look at Licious packaging, they have one designed it in a white box, and then they have put some photographs of some of their consumers there. Yeah. And put up a statement of this person trusts this, etc., etc. So you will see ample examples of them using their secondary packaging very, very well. Yeah. Now, I honestly see that a lot of that can work in your traditional setup also. Yeah. So in a traditional setup, even if something like a Licious packaging is kept somewhere, I think it is bound to attract attention. Yeah. Additionally, in traditional setup, if for example now you consider a product like, say, a Kinder Joy, one of my previous examples. Yeah. Now a Kinder Joy, if you're ordering via Amazon or Flipkart, does not really need a tray, box, etc. to be sent to you, because you will be ordering a few pieces, and there you only interact with the primary packaging or the box that it comes in. But on the shelf in a retail environment, you need those eggs to be kept in something so that it can draw the kids to itself. Yeah. So I think there is still a role for primary packaging separately and secondary packaging separately. In a digital environment, it is a much more intimate environment. You can write stuff which people will sit and read. Yeah. So usually your secondary packaging can be as intimate as your private package, as your primary packaging. Yeah, usually in a retail environment like kirana store, etc., your secondary packaging is all about attracting attention or creating a space for itself in the shop, and your primary packaging is something which is more intimate. Yeah, so that is how I'll possibly try and deconstruct this.
Beautiful. Makes a lot of sense. Now I let you go on to the next point.
You're listening to Cobb, Conversations on the Business of Brands. Your hosts are Sudeep Chawla, marketing practitioner, business leader, and educator to advertising and marketing professionals, and Sharavana Raghavan of Vitral Brand Expertise, growth consultants to consumer-facing brands and businesses. For more information, go to cobbcast.net. If you find this podcast helpful, please help us by telling your friends and rating us.
So we spoke about three things till now. Yeah. So POSM, point of sale material, packaging, and product, which were obvious. The fourth one, and which is something that the more I think about it, the more I become convinced. And it is something which is important not just for startups, but for a lot of established business as well. And it is important for B2C as well as B2B. And I say this with experience because I've done both sides, is the customer themselves. Yeah, or the consumer themselves.
Advocacy.
So the fact is that, and the more I think about it, there is a concept called post-purchase rationalization, which many of us would have learnt about. Very simply stated, it is a customer's tendency to justify their purchase once they've made it.
Right.
And the justification starts from first justifying to oneself and then to people around you. And depending on how convincing it sounds to you and the people around you, the more boastful you become about it. Yeah. So you tend to believe that you've made the right choice, and you automatically anoint yourself as the expert in that field, thereby dispensing advice to everybody who is caring to listen to you. But the tendency to justify their purchase actually is universal. Yeah, because all of us tend to think, did I do this right? Did I do the right thing? Did I pay the right price? Did I choose the right thing, etc., etc.? And the more positive justification you get, now this positive justification, one obviously is from the product that you use. Yeah, the more you use it, the better experience you get. You obviously become satisfied. Yeah, but I also believe that it is also a brand's responsibility, and therefore a marketer's responsibility, to try and give their customer a very pithy articulation of their satisfaction with the product.
Explain that.
Yeah, for example, if I were to give you a pair of denims which is so comfortable and it has something in it, so that you don't need to take it off for 2 weeks straight. Yeah, suppose this is the denim. Yeah, and I just give it to you, so you will obviously wear it, and you suppose you like the product and you would want to repeat it in front of somebody. You would want to say it is very comfortable, or I really like it, vagera vagera. If I was able to give you an evocative articulation saying that it is so comfortable, it is your second skin, and suppose it clicks with you, I can tell you that you will go around and you will keep repeating this, that it is my second skin, it is my second skin, it is my second skin. Yeah, the more evocative articulation I'm able to give to you, the greater chance I have that you will repeat my articulation and use it as your post-purchase rationalization. And that is why you don't just become an advocate of my product, you become an advocate of my proposition also.
Awesome.
For example, Pepsi has been able to do it time and again, I believe. Yeah, for example, there's nothing official about it, or har ghoont mein swag hai. Yeah, are various ways where they've been able to come up with catchy lines which they think that the teenagers or the youngsters will pick up and repeat over and over again. For example, in China, when there was some chocolate that had launched,
Mhm.
and their line was as smooth as silk. Why have cotton when you can have silk? It was UK, sorry, and they had
Galaxy.
Galaxy, yeah. So Galaxy had kind of repositioned dairy milk. Why have cotton when you can have silk? And therefore their line was as smooth as silk. Now they would have hoped that somebody, when they eat Galaxy, they should articulate saying it is like silk,
Right.
yeah, as smooth as silk. So
Right.
those are the attempts that brand make. And I would say that, you know, making an attempt of that order towards that aim possibly is something that everybody should try.
Got it. But in the theme of the episode, these customers aren't going to be a silent salesman. We want them to be vociferous, right?
Yeah. So what I meant possibly was that they are making the noise on their own volition. They are not marketer's device like a poster or a advertising is. So when they make the noise on their own volition, then they don't think they are your salesmen. However, they are.
Got it. They're advocates.
They're
and they're
advocates.
voluntary advocates.
Yeah.
I get what the silent salesman is, how it can, and who are the silent salesmen in a system. But is there a process to get this right?
I think the process is actually very similar to crafting your proposition and then bringing it come alive. Yeah. For example, first you have to craft your proposition. In one of the episodes, we have spoken about, the whole FAB framework, which is feature, advantage, and benefit. Yeah. Feature are factuals. Advantages are what do feature do, and benefit is what does it help you therefore achieve. Yeah. Usually emotional in nature. And then you have to craft your statement, which might sound a little bit more long-winded to start with, and the statement could either be FAB or BAF. Yeah, which means that you could say, for example, let's consider Mark 3. Yeah.
Okay. The razor.
The razor. Yes.
Okay.
So let's say if we go the FAB route, so they will say we have a 4-blade platinum edge razor. Yeah. That gives you extra smooth shave so that you remain confident the entire day. Or the BAF would be that remain confident the entire day because you have the smoothest shave possible, because we are giving you a razor with 4 blades and titanium edge, etc., etc. Yeah. You want to lead with benefit or you want to lead with features. Either ways is good. You decide for your own category and your own brand. Yeah. But you need to deliver the final benefit for sure. Yeah. Usually, more often than not. Now, once you've crafted this, then that is where the magic lies, that you have to lift that statement and turn it into something which is pithy and repeatable. Yeah. I think Lay's had done this for some time back, saying no one can eat just one. Yeah. So you tend to remember things like this, right?
Right.
Yeah. Or jaise Parle G had done some time back, G Mane Genius. Yeah. Small things like that, which are centered around product or your experience of eating the product or how the product makes you feel. Yeah. So craft something and therefore give it some kind of articulation which you believe will catch on. Yeah. Now, if you've got an articulation of that kind, ideally that is the statement which should make into your product, packaging, point of sale material, etc., etc. Yeah. And then, now who is the next person in your chain? The next person in the chain is the final person who is standing and selling it. Now in B2B, the seller might be your own team member. Yeah. In B2C, a seller might be your retailer or your Amazon page, etc. And therefore we have to make sure that even there the line is relevant. So an Amazon page has to list that line. A seller has to be trained by the sales team in saying that line, and that is where you can turn sellers into tellers. Yeah. And and once they use that sentence to everybody, they also start enjoying doing that repetition, because it gives them success, it gives them that smile, it gives them that nod of approval from the consumer. Yeah, so you have to keep hammering it, and once you keep hammering it, your packaging says it, your product says it, and everything, you're more likely to possibly get it articulated by the consumers in more chances than not.
Right. I don't think we have to look too far. Kuch meeta ho jaye is a brilliant example of that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
फेविकॉल का जोड़ है टूटेगा नहीं, दम लगा के हाइशा, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, these are things which get built over a period of time, but many of them have not had that much, have not put as much emphasis. For example, I don't remember me teaching or any of us teaching the salesman, the retailer on the ground, to say up dairy milk becho by saying kuch meeta ho jaye. Yeah, you don't do that. That's an opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. I think you simplified this entire silent salesman bit, Sudeep, but I'm not going to let you go without the famous examples you're known for.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it the other day, and I recently bought a television set. Now I was thinking about it, and I think that products like these, something which stays with you, which is with you, are excellent opportunity to really, really create that kind of impact, which usually I see a lot of the manufacturer miss. Yeah. For example, when you buy a television, you obviously go to a store. Now this could be a multi-brand store or a single brand store, but therefore you encounter somebody in the store. Now that store guy obviously needs to use a certain line. Yeah. For example, Oneida had that neighbor's envy, honor's pride. Yeah, the famous one. Now that line, whatever articulation of it, has to be used by everybody. Yeah. Now that is where it gets used. Now what you bring back home is this entire big dabba with television in it. So dabba needs to scream that line. Once you take out the TV, now TV obviously therefore needs to have something which allows you to again see that line. And when you start your TV, every time startup has a routine. The TV starts in a certain manner. It gives you that screen. Again, that screen has to play it back. Yeah. Why? Because I've bought something. The next time somebody comes to my place, I would possibly want to justify my decision. If they look at the TV and they say, okay, how is this one? So I would want to repeat something to them, right? Now, ideally, give me a line that I can repeat. And you craft that line, have the salesman say that line, have this line on the dabba, have the line on the TV when it is starting up. Possibly give me a QR code here, which I can scan and show them something cool, something really swanky. So help me in justifying my purchase, and I'll help you by re-articulating your line.
Awesome. I think it's a good flow you went through using your own example, because it starts with the marketing mainstream communication that you were hit by. Then as a shopper, there are different touch points in which the brand can reinforce the same selling message.
Yeah.
And even better if it's going to be a hook that can get you to start repeating the same sales pitch.
Yeah.
And build that across every touch point, not just till the sale is done, but beyond that, even to enhance the experience of what the shopper or the customer or the consumer is going to go through.
Yeah.
And that is the silent salesman then.
Yeah, I would agree. And in fact, it is easier for products with which consumer spends a little bit of more time. Consumables might not get that many opportunities to do it.
Right.
Or they might not have the real estate to do it. But the brands that you continue to use for some time are something that really, really should, I think about this.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure they will think about it.
Yeah.
Now that they've heard it from you, I see a lot of people actually thinking about it. And when they think about it, I'm sure a lot of them will also put it into action after this.
Hopefully. Crossing my fingers for that.
Thank you so much, Sudeep. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Sharan. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to COB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's COBBCAST.net.